Did you know that New York City consumes over 1 billion gallons of water each and every day? What if I told you that just over 100 miles north of New York City in the Catskill Mountains, most of this water starts its journey? On this adventure, I will be spending 3 days in the Catskill Mountains with friends, family, and my new exploration partner, Scout. We will be camping, cooking, and enjoying some of the best that the Catskills offers in some rather cold winter weather. We also will be looking at the history of several towns in the Catskills, including Woodstock and Bittersweet. You've never heard of Bittersweet? Well, that's because it's 175 feet below water. But more to come on that. On this adventure, I will be doing a few things different. Let's start with the vehicle of choice, my Jeep Gladiator. I know some of you have been watching from the beginning as I've been traveling around in my Ford F-350. I honestly was not planning on sharing my Jeep on any of these adventures because, well, I've been considering selling it. But for this trip, I've decided this will be my saddle of choice. So here we go to explore. For the first day, I had planned to go solo and investigate trail conditions on Catskill Park state lands. My buddy Jay, along with his son Lucas, would be joining me for day 2. The goal for the day was to explore some unmarked trails in the mountains on state park land. If I was really lucky, I would also find a primitive camping spot for the next couple of days to call base camp. As I was about to head out on the road for the day, my plans did slightly change. As you can tell from some of the camera views, I have someone very special riding along in the passenger seat. A little stomach bug kept my daughter from making it through the first period of her school day. Although she acknowledged that she did not want to be part of Daddy's video trip, she certainly didn't mind tagging along to work the camera. This trip was something that I have been looking forward to for a while, for a lot of reasons. One of which was bringing along our 7-month-old German Shorthair Pointer Scout. Scout is not our first GSP. She was recently added to our family after we very unexpectedly lost our dear Denali last year on this exact day. After driving these dirt roads for a while, I decided to give Scout the opportunity to stretch her legs a little. Anyone who has had a German Shorthair Pointer knows they love tagging along for a car ride, but it's all about the chance to run in the woods. Although this was not really what I originally had in mind, I've seen a couple of other YouTubers do this with their GSPs, and I thought, well, let's give it a try. Let's just say that my daughter was less than thrilled with the idea of having Scout run alongside our car. After giving Scout the opportunity to lead the way for about 1.5 miles, she jumped back in with all smiles and a quick nap in the back seat. Well, we were now a few miles in, and the trails were just starting to get to be a little fun. Don't get me wrong, this was not any form of technical off-roading, but who doesn't love exploring a bunch of deep mud and puddles as you drive alongside a roaring stream? About another half mile down the trail, we came to a spot where I thought it would be perfect to settle in and make some lunch. The temperatures were about 26 degrees Fahrenheit, and after my daughter calling for a day with Dad, I thought I would make some chicken noodle soup. And look at this. I found an extraordinary spot to put together some lunch. For this recipe, which is one of my favorites when winter camping, I will start by preheating the load skillet so that it is nice and hot. This recipe will call for a few boneless chicken thighs because the fat content on thighs adds a lot of flavor. Something I added today, which I will acknowledge was initiated by the cold outdoor temperatures, was some potatoes. Even though I brought 2, I only ended up adding 1. There is nothing like potatoes in any soup on a cold day. Next, I add a couple of shakes of coarse black pepper, kosher salt, onion powder, celery salt, and garlic powder over the chicken. These little spice containers have been a great find for me. They came in a pack of about 20 and I was quick to find spices for all of them. I typically keep these inside of my Super Duty. They quickly attach to the inside of the stainless steel cap with the magnetic strips on the bottom. Check them out, they're on Amazon. I think they're a good buy. The smell starting to come from this skillet is out of this world. I can't imagine what Scout is thinking. Next, I add the potatoes to the skillet. One thing to keep in mind is when you're cutting up the potatoes, try to keep them bite-sized. The potatoes will take the longest to cook. I believe this will be the last time I ever use this portable camper's cutting board. Find myself trying not to cut my fingers, but I also find myself trying to keep everything from falling off the board. This board is way too small. I am not a big fan of celery, but adding just 1 or 2 stalks to any soup adds a complementary flavor. I believe the key is cooking them long enough to break down the texture. Similar to the potatoes, I would suggest cutting the carrots rather thin. The thicker they are, the longer you'll have to cook. After the chicken has cooked for a while, I suggest taking it out and cutting it up on the cutting board. This helps with 2 things. The first thing is it makes sure that it's been cooked through, or it gives you a chance to cook it further through when you have it in pieces when you put it back in, as well as gives you the opportunity to have pieces that are much more easier to eat within the soup. This bowl of chicken is going to make someone very happy. When I make chicken soup at home, I usually use about 2 of these containers of chicken broth. But for today with the skillet, I was only able to get just a little bit over 1 container. So that's probably all you'll need, especially if serving only 2 or 3 people. Now I do know there's a lot of different noodles you can use for chicken noodle soup, but in this case, I highly prefer the Pennsylvania Dutch Hearty Homestyle egg noodles. I understand these may be hard to find, but if you can find any Y egg noodle, you're going to be in great shape for a very warm, filling bowl of chicken noodle soup. So after letting the noodles cook for about 5 to 10 minutes in the skillet covered, do a quick taste test to see if the texture is close to the way you like it. The one thing I will say is please just make sure that you do not overcook these noodles. The chicken noodle soup was now ready, and Scout had patiently waited the whole time, so I figured let me start off by giving her a couple of pieces of chicken. After that, I got the chance to sit down with my daughter, talk to her about her day, and whether she was having fun and enjoying using the camera over a nice warm bowl of chicken noodle soup. Not a bad day, that's for sure. After lunch, I decided to put the drone up to get some shots of the area. And I don't normally do an unedited cut of me flying the drone around, but this just goes to show that sometimes when you're out to get some really beautiful shots of whether the landscapes, the stream, you name it, you come across things which you least expect. And in this situation, I think I came across the best camping spot in all the Catskills. Not too far further down the trail, I found this little spot sitting right along the stream, and this would become my base camp for day 2 in the Catskills. Now that we had finished lunch and established a home base for camping on day 2, we headed out to do some exploring. As mentioned at the beginning of the trip, the Catskills are abundant with water. If you're not familiar with the area, the Catskills are located in the southeastern part of New York State, about 100 miles northwest of New York City. Although this part of the Northeast can be a little gray this time of year, that should not keep anyone from getting out and exploring. I would be lying if I did not say that there are better times to visit the area, especially when the spring bloom comes or the fall colors turn. It's gorgeous. But as you also see, when it turns white from a winter snow, there is something special that happens. As New York City's population rapidly flourished in the 19th century, the demand for clean water surged, leading to concerns about the city's water supply. At the time, the city relied on polluted sources, prompting officials to seek a solution. Enter the Catskill Reservoir system. By 1850, the population was 500,000 people, and it grew to 3.4 million by 1900. It was recognized that the city was growing quickly, and clean water supplies were diminishing. The concept of using the Catskill Mountains as a water source took shape in the late 19th century. The early 20th century saw a rapid influx of immigrants, boosting the population to over 7 million by 1930. By 1905, the New York State Legislature approved the construction of the Catskill Aqueduct, marking the beginning of an ambitious project. The reservoir system comprises of several reservoirs and dams strategically placed across the Catskill Mountains. The Neversink Reservoir, which is located in Sullivan County, New York, is about 75 miles from New York City. It was formed by damming the Neversink River, which continues south and eventually drains into the Delaware River. Construction began in 1941 as the city realized that after World War II, it would need to increase its supply aggressively to meet explosive population growth. Neversink was ultimately chosen after opposition from the local community and the region's trout fishermen. 3 local hamlets with long history, Neversink, Eden, and Bittersweet, were condemned and flooded to make the reservoir a reality. Neversink was relocated a little over a mile away and still exists today. Eden and Bittersweet is gone completely, and many of the structures still sit below these waters. As we headed out of Neversink on our way to Ashokan, the ground quickly turned to white. Although the winter season has been cold yet dry in this area, it was nice to see some snow, as much as I had hoped to catch it on one of these overnight trips. After arriving at the Ashokan Reservoir, we took the time to explore around what was clearly a beautiful white wonderland. Layers of snow starting from the highest point at Slide Mountain just to the west, already starting its trip to the rivers and streams down to the reservoir. There is no way to ignore the fact that these expansive dams across the Catskills have caused disruption to many communities in the area. I also know that they became the lifeline to America's largest city and the world's greatest natural municipal water system. Although this is only part one of my visit to the Catskills, I would encourage you to come explore the area. The Catskills have many activities from hiking, kayaking, skiing, camping, or even snowshoeing if you're lucky enough to catch a fresh winter snow. For me, today was all about exploring the area with my daughter and sharing some warm, delicious chicken noodle soup. This day was definitely not as planned, and sometimes the best things in life are not planned. And before you go, please take a minute to hit that subscribe button. It is greatly appreciated as I look to hit my first 1,000 subscribers by March 1st. And don't forget to come back for part 2 as I explore both Woodstocks, as well as some great things that the locals are doing with this clean, fresh water. If you like trout fishing and breweries, you will not want to miss it.